Sixers,
Oh, baby!
and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hinnick.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hinnick.
Josh Hinnick here on a first Football Friday of the season from now until February. Every Friday on 97.3 ESPN. Every night, every Friday, we have football to preview. And I'll give you my picks for college football week 0 a little bit later this hour on 97.3 ESPN. Tomorrow night, we're actually going to have the SMU versus Nevada game. That'll be right here on 97.3 ESPN tomorrow night. Eagles pregame coverage at 12 o'clock following Billy Schweim in the locker room here on 97.3 ESPN tomorrow. And again, more into the NFL, we have Rob Motti from the Associated Press. He is joining me coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973, your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Before we get to the football, I do have some thoughts on the Phillies. Because as Mike Gill and I touched on a little bit earlier today on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, last night was the ghost of Phillies postseasons past. The Phillies finished their Brave series, losing 2 out of 3 in Atlanta against a team that is without Austin Riley, without Ozzie Albies, without Ronald Acuna. They were without Soler for most of this series. They are shorthanded on numerous levels. But what did the Phillies do? Their top 3 hitters combined to go 2 for 33 in the series. As a whole, the Philadelphia Phillies' entire lineup struck out 31 times, just 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Bryce Harper is now batting .056 this season against the Atlanta Braves. It was an absolutely unacceptable performance. And I got to tell you guys, I am running out of ideas why this team is struggling. You know, at first it was they're coming out of the All-Star break. Then it was, well, maybe someone's injured. Then it was, well, maybe guys need a day off. Now I'm just starting to wonder if there's something wrong with these guys psychologically, because it's the only other idea I have. The only other theory I have is that Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, they didn't need to see a shrink. Brandon Marsh, go see a shrink. Because for whatever reason, the organization does not think they need to make a lineup change. And the reason why I say an organization is because the people out there who love to blame Rob Thompson, I'm telling you right now, Rob Thompson is not solely responsible for the lineup. And if you're the person who thinks that, you don't watch baseball, okay? In the world of baseball, the manager is there to do the job that the front office wants them to do. You think that Scott Service got fired in late August by the Seattle Mariners because he was putting out bad lineup cards? Come on. When Joe Girardi got fired by the Phillies a couple of years ago, it was because he was going rogue, because he wasn't what the front office wanted, because he thought he knew better than everybody else as a baseball guy. Look around baseball. The reason why the White Sox fired their no-name manager that none of you ever heard of in the middle of their worst season in decades is because they looked at the manager and said, this guy isn't doing the job that we want him to do. Managers are an extension of the front office in many ways in baseball. And that's why this Phillies team continues to trot out the same lineup. Listen, there are ways to shake up this lineup. There are ways to try to create a different vibe, a different energy, a different something. But instead, we're just rinse and repeating this lineup. Because why? They've been to the postseason 2 straight years. Frankly, what they should be doing is they should be shaking up the lineup. Now, I'm not saying get rid of Kyle Schwarber out of the leadoff hole. I'm not one of those people. I know some of you text in at 609-403-0973, always saying that Schwarber shouldn't be the leadoff hitter. The Phillies are winning around 60% of their games each year. I think it's actually right now like 59.4 or whatever it is. I gotta look it up again, but they're around 60% of their games winning when Schwarber's the leadoff hitter. Moving Schwarber out of the leadoff is not going to fix the problem. But I think it's time to admit that Trey Turner and Harper back-to-back might not be working. And you either need to do one of two things. You either need to put Bohm in the 2 spot and put Turner at 5, or you need to be honest with yourself if you're the Philadelphia Phillies and just admit that Stott and Marsh are playing so poorly this year that they cannot be regular players anymore. You know, you may not know this, folks, but Johan Rojas has a better batting average than multiple players in tonight's lineup. But yet, Rojas isn't in the lineup. Think about how ridiculous is what I just said. There is literally a hitter on this team who is playing better than the guys who are in the lineup. But that guy is being told, you don't need to play. Nah, you can just sit on the bench. Yes, Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott both have a lower batting average this year than Johan Rojas. The same Johan Rojas who has 21 stolen bases. The only player on this team with more is Bryson Stott. And frankly, it's a miracle that Bryson Stott has more stolen bases because of the fact that he has the worst batting average of all the players who are in the top 9 of this team. Rojas is the better defensive player than Marsh. But yet, you keep putting Marsh and his prone to commit an error in center field constantly. Because today's lineup, the Phillies said, we don't care that Rojas plays better defense. We don't care that Rojas is having a better hitting season than Brandon Marsh. We're going to stick Marsh in center field, cross our fingers, bite our lip, hold our breath, and hope for the best. And I'm telling you guys right now, if the Phillies do not get back to the National League Championship Series this year, I want 2 moves to happen immediately. Number 1, Kevin Long, the Phillies hitting coach, needs to be fired. I am done with hearing about how this guy is one of the best hitting coaches in baseball. But for whatever reason, you have almost $1 billion, not $1 million, $1 billion of contracts invested in Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Real Muto, and Castellanos. And for whatever reason, you, Kevin Long, can't get those guys back on track. You don't have an answer. The Phillies suddenly don't have an answer offensively. I don't believe that for 1 second. I call horse manure on that. Secondly, if you're the Phillies, you have to do something this offseason to show the fans that you're serious moving forward. The only significant move you made this offseason was adding Whit Merrifield. Your big trade deadline addition was Carlos Estevez and Austin Hayes. That's not good enough. If you're serious about winning, if you're serious about turning this around, you got to first fire the hitting coach. And number two, you got to make a move to shake up this team. And I hate saying it. I hate putting this negativity out into the universe. But you know what? It might have to be Bryson Stott, because he's the only player on this team at a position that I can rationalize replacing. Because apparently Marsh is too valuable of a player in that locker room. We know Austin Hayes is probably not going to be here next year. I mean, he might be, but it doesn't matter. Unless you're going to trade him as well. I mean, you can get rid of him and replace him with somebody. But right now, the two positions on the field that you can rationalize replacing is second base and left field. And for whatever reason, this team values Austin Hayes more than you and I do. And if you keep sending Bryson Stott out there, the same Bryson Stott who's hitting .234, the same Bryson Stott who in almost every statistical category is having the worst year of his baseball career. A year he was supposed to have a step up at the major league level. He's 24, 25 years old. This dude is supposed to be a guy at this point. He turns 27 in October. How do you keep getting worse? You went from a .280 batting average to .234. Your on base percentage going down almost 30 points. And right now, you are on pace for fewer homers, fewer RBI, fewer stolen bases than last year. The only thing he's done better this year is walk. And that's mostly because he got his strikeouts down. It's absolutely insane to me that this team is in this predicament. And I blame the offense. And I blame the hitting coach. To me, there's no one else to blame. If I'm wrong, you guys can let me know. 609-403-0973. We got a lot of football talk to get to this hour as well, because Rob Mai is going to join us. And there was a comment made by Dan Orlovsky about the Phillies offense with Jahan Dotson. And I thought it was very interesting because, when you think about the Eagles offense moving forward, what does this move mean? And I keep going back to this team scored 44 points less last year than the year before. Just 44 points. They were still top 10 in the NFL in numerous offensive categories. They still scored 30 points against the Arizona Cardinals. They still outscored the Giants in one of two games. It's not like the offense was bad the entire end of the season. But it's part of the reason why you added Saquon Barkley. And now you had Jahan Dotson, and Dan Orlovsky of ESPN says this.
I'm surprised Jahan didn't grab on a little bit more in Washington. I called a couple of his college football games, and he was such a good route runner, so sudden, in and out of cuts, being able to go deep. His hands were so strong, being able to make some contested catches, a guy that was really good down in the red zone. But now he doesn't have to be that number two option. I mean, he really gets to be with AJ, Devontae, and Dallas Goedert. If Dotson just replicates what he did at that number 3 wide receiver spot, I don't know of anybody in the NFC that can line up and play man-to-man coverage against those 4 pass catchers.
So what does that mean? Well, I think what that means is that the Eagles are on track to have an amazing season offensively. And while someone like me will point to the defense and say, I think the defense is actually more important than the offense because you lost multiple games last year because of your defense, the offense still had struggles last year. And it's been well documented that, Sirianni and Brian Johnson were running a very stale, uncreative offense. Jalen Hurts was not in a position to be successful. The players were frustrated. The coaching staff was frustrated. The organization was so frustrated, they fired 90% of the coaching staff. And now you have a team that scored 433 points last year It's the 7th most in Eagles franchise history. Only 44 points less than the largest total in Eagles history, which was 2022. In fact, did you know that in the 3 years Nick Sirianni has been the Philadelphia Eagles head coach, they have had 3 of the top 7 highest scoring seasons in franchise history? So if you already are scoring a lot of points, if you are already an offense that has a high scoring potential, how much better can you and will you be this year? We'll ask Rob Mai from the Associated Press coming up next here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea City.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles finish the 2024 preseason tomorrow afternoon at the Link against the Minnesota Vikings.
He's hit. Down he goes, and this time it's Nolan Smith from the outside.
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at noon and kickoff at 1 p.m. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Go for the endless ocean views and the non-stop entertainment. Go for the lucky whirls and the late-night twirls. Go for the gourmet eats and the next-level sweets. Go to celebrate. Go to rejuvenate. Go for an escape that's anything but ordinary. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
It's Bennett Chevy's end of summer blowout. Hurry in now for deals you can't find anywhere else. Our best deals of the year. Like $500 below GM supplier employee prices on new Chevys. Yes, you pay $500 less than our employees pay. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates. That could save you up to 10% on your new Chevy. Save even more with available 0.9% financing. And Bennett Chevy is South Jersey's EV headquarters with a great selection of EVs, hybrids, SUVs, and Chevy trucks. And right now, we're paying a whopping $10,000 minimum for any old trade. We don't care if it runs, just get it here. That's at least $10,000 for total junk towards any pre-owned in stock. Imagine how much we'll pay for a good trade. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So you'll love your no-hassle, no-haggle experience. Together, let's drive at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Hi, I'm Cesar Milan. People are always commenting on how healthy my dogs are. One of the reasons is the food my dogs eat.
Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend is a premium freeze-dried raw dog food designed to support your dog's health, happiness, and lifespan. Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of cod Crispies. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
It only takes one bad decision to change your life. And riding after drinking can be one of those. It can lead to impaired reflexes, poor judgment, and then disaster. Think about it. Even one drink affects your ability to ride. Alcohol can limit your reaction time and give you a false sense of confidence. You think it'll never happen to you, but it can. So, if you hit the bottle, don't roll the throttle. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Powered by the all-new Bet Parks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. betparks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Fans are feeling wary about the Phils. I'm Nick Earnshaw with your South Jersey Sports Center and with your 97.3 ESPN question of the day. The Phillies have lost yet another series last night as they lost 2 of 3 to the Braves as they push forward into their road trip and start another series with the Royals tonight. With that being said, our 97.3 ESPN question of the day is, did the Phillies peak too early this year? Let us know by texting 609-403-0973 or use the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. It seems to feel that way at this point in this season. The Phillies have lost 8 series since they swept the Dodgers in mid-July, right around July 11th, but they just have not come out of the rut offensively. It seems like guys are not finding their stride like they did in the first half of the season, but I don't think they've peaked too early yet. I think there's still a lot of baseball left to be played, and the Phillies will be okay. They'll get hot for October. Once again, text in at 609-403-0973. Your forecast is next.
From playtime to showtime, Atlantic City always serves classic summer fun with a twist of cool. Visit AtlanticCityNJ.com to win an overnight getaway.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Your weather this weekend will still be consistently pleasant, just 5 to 10 degrees warmer than it's been both daytime and nighttime. A few clouds may creep in tonight. It'll be comfortable. Low temperature tomorrow morning, 62 degrees. Tomorrow afternoon, 84. Seasonably warm with a mix of sun and clouds. Slightly stickier on Sunday, mostly sunny, 85. Chance of a shower or thunderstorm Monday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
At Complete Care Health Network, their new men's and family health professionals facility in Williamstown offers preventative health screenings and primary care for the entire family with a focus on men's health. Schedule your appointment at CompleteCareNJ.org.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Well, I think this is now giving Philadelphia the Eagles have the best wide receiver trio with A.J. Brown, Devontae, and Jahan Dotson. This was a really good offense to begin with. If Dotson just replicates what he did, which is 50 or so catches and 500 yards at that number 3 wide receiver spot, I don't know of anybody in the NFC that can line up and play man-to-man coverage against those 4 pass catchers.
Does Rob Maaddi agree with his buddy, Dan Orlovsky? We'll ask him right now. Associated Press senior NFL writer and reporter. Rob Maaddi, also, he is the host of Faithful to Field, heard Saturday and Sunday mornings here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, welcome back in. Is Dan Orlovsky right? Do the Eagles have the best receiving group in the NFL now?
If they don't, I'm not sure who does. You can make a case if San Francisco keeps Brandon Ayuk, and it seems that that's going to happen. But I think the deal for Jahan Dotson yesterday, although I already was going to pick the Eagles to win the NFC East, I put out one of my rare hot takes because I'm not a hot taker. I said they won the NFC East yesterday. Now, of course, Jalen can get hurt week 1, and we know where that ends up going. But I think Jahan Dotson, the addition of a third receiver in this offense where he doesn't have to be the first, second, third, or even fourth weapon or option, is really incredible. I know that he wasn't exactly a fit in Washington. I'm not sure why. I don't know what transpired there. I don't know how a bad team can't keep good football players around, but we know that they got a new regime in there. There isn't, when you get new people in place, there's no loyalty to, well, we picked this guy in the first round 2 years ago and we need to be vindicated and be proven right. They don't have to do that, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. So they moved on. They did get a decent pick, a third-round pick, and 2 7ths is good return for a guy like Jahan Dotson. But the Eagles are in win-today mode, win Super Bowl this year kind of mode for that organization. And he's a significant upgrade, I think, for them. And this is a guy who can thrive in Philly. In this offense, with those weapons, where he doesn't have to be the guy, man, I think he can really thrive. And I do agree with Dan Orlovsky. They're going to be difficult to cover. Like if you try and double A.J. Brown, somebody's with all these weapons, what are you going to do? How do you try and contain this team?
Well, that's the question, because if they are going to be a better offense, right, they are going to be this unstoppable force. Well, last year's Eagles, Rob, scored 44 points fewer than the year before. 2022, the most points Eagles franchise history with 477. So are you telling me this team's going to score 480? Are you telling me this team's going to average 29 points per game? When the 49ers went to the Super Bowl last year, they averaged 28.9 points per game. So is that what we mean when we say this team is going to be better?
I think this team can be closer to the 2022 version of the Eagles, where that offense was unstoppable all the way through, not just through the first 11 games. And even in the first 11 games last year, although they were 10-1, we saw some areas where it looked like they just weren't clicking. They weren't all on the same page. And it's easy to blame that on the offensive coordinator who's not here. You got a guy in Kellen Moore who likes to play with the weapons and incorporate everybody in the preset motion and the pre-snap motions and the things, the disguises that he can do. I think that this team is primed to be able to get back to where they were a couple years ago. And what did they average in 22? That had to be over 30 points per game, right? That had to be somewhere close to that. So I think this is a team where, barring injury, Jalen did throw his first pick, apparently, of training camp yesterday, Josh. So we can no longer say he's not taking risks or he's not comfortable or this, that, or the other. He did finally do that. I think they are. They got the talent. They got the weapons. Now, to me, the big loss, and I think for everybody, is Jason Kelce up front. Kelce making all those calls, helping out the quarterback, and Cam Jurgens be able to do the same things that Kelce did. Forget about just the leadership. I'm just talking about the 6-time All-Pro Hall of Famer in the middle of an offensive line, anchoring it. The Eagles have been very fortunate the past couple of years, and they've had a lot of good success with their health. And last year, a little bit not as great as 22, where 22, they were just healthy throughout the year. Cam Jurgens is going to be a big part of this team's success if he can pick up the pieces from the loss of Jason Kelce. And Kelce seems to think that Cam's a great fit. So we'll see. He's got to go out there and get it done.
So with that being said, okay, a couple things here. One, the Eagles averaged 28.1 points per game in 2022. So
28 points.
So they were just off of that 30-point number. And by the way, the Cowboys last year averaged 29.9 points per game. That was number one in the NFL. Even they were a tenth of a point off of 30. So getting to that 30 is a pretty elusive number. And you could argue with a 17-game schedule might not be as easy as it used to be, just spreading out the points over a year. The other part of it is you mentioned about Kelce, and just to play devil's advocate, for you, Rob, is there a part of you that looks at the end of last season with the losing 6 out of 7 games, and we look back and you realize Kelce had a false start penalty almost every single one of them? He made mistakes down the stretch of that season. Is it maybe possible that part of the reason why Kelce's not here anymore and Cam Jurgens is because Kelce realized he didn't have his fastball anymore and maybe they needed a new center?
He did say when I spoke to him how he thought he struggled a little bit. I still was playing at a high level, still was a first-team All-Pro, but thought when he said that we all struggled, he said myself included. So I think for Kelce, it wasn't about the performance, although some of that had to bother him. I think it was more about the health and what it took for him to get ready, and all of the injuries that accumulated over the decade plus of his career, and the arthritis that sets in, and the struggles getting out of bed and bending down and playing with your children. Man, I've been there. I know what that feels like. And I didn't play in the NFL. I just played college baseball and random flag football and football leagues, and tore my ACLs and my meniscus and my rotator cuff. Like I struggle doing that stuff, and I can't imagine what it is like for an NFL player who goes through like a car wreck every single snap when you're on the offensive line. So I think Josh had more to do with that, because if Jason said, hey, I want to come back, he was going to be the starting center, no doubt. They weren't gonna move on from Jason in that regard. And I do think, though, you make a great point in that maybe the drop off performance-wise isn't going to be as great as some of us may think.
And of course, it was also Lane Johnson who said that we had a lot of missed opportunities last year. So the players are aware that last year was the problem. But you mentioned about the interesting thing of no Kelsey anymore. I wanted to play for you. I don't know if you had heard this. Jordan Mailata was on Chris Long's podcast, and he talked about basically he suggested that Kellen Moore's offense is going to cover up for there not being a Kelsey calling out the pre-snap calls. This was Jordan Mailata.
Kellen's done a good job of simplifying and having answers for blitzes, and having hots, simplifying the pass game and like protection calling. And Kelsey was our problem solver. Now that we don't have him, Kellen's come along and just again having hot reads, having answers to blitz zero, and then simplifying the calls up front based on the hot looks.
So is Kellen Moore enough, Rob Maaddi, to make up for the lack of the problem solver, also known as Jason Kelsey?
That's an interesting observation by Jordan Mailata, who knows because he's living it and he's seeing it, and that certainly would help this offense if Kellen Moore hey, it's always about the coach putting you in better position to make plays, right? That's the Andy Reidisms that we've heard for 2+ decades. And if Kellen Moore is able to put these guys, you look at the strengths, you look at the weaknesses, you recognize what you have, and you realize what you don't have. And if you don't have a guy like Jason Kelsey, who was a problem solver, I actually listened to the entire Nick Foles interview with Chris Long on his podcast just today. And Nick was talking about how when he played quarterback, he really relied on Jason, pointing out the Mike linebacker, pointing this out, pointing that out, so he can verbalize the play, think through his progressions and do that. And he said some other teams where he went, that responsibility fell upon the quarterback. So maybe that's why Nick Foles, and he said he wasn't good at that. So maybe that's why Nick Foles struggled playing for other teams where he didn't have Jason Kelsey as his center. So if Kellen Moore, and I'm sure Kellen Moore knows what Cam Jurgens' strengths are and what some of his weaknesses are and what Jason was good at, if he's putting them in better position by taking away some of those needs for a problem solver, I think that's just that's great coaching, and we'll see what the execution looks like.
Talking with Rob Maaddi, senior NFL writer and reporter for the Associated Press, joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you guys on what is officially the first Football Friday of the season. We have real games tomorrow. I know it's college football, Rob. There's real football tomorrow, not preseason football. We got games actually start counting tomorrow in football. So with that being said, when the Eagles games start counting, Rob, when they go down to Brazil versus the Packers, which side of the ball will you be focusing more on? Is it the offense or is it the defense?
Offense, just because we're inclined to want to see points, right? So you're focusing on the offense. You want to see if Jalen can bounce back and have that productive year that he had in 22. You got all these weapons. You got Saquon Barkley. I can't wait to see how he gets used. I have the number 2 pick in the draft, in a fantasy draft tomorrow night, Josh, and I think I want to take Jalen Hurts. I'm pretty sure Christian McCaffrey is going to go 1, but I almost wanted to pick between 10 and 15. It's a 15-team league because I think I want Saquon Barkley because I think he can give you some Christian McCaffrey type numbers. So I'm going to be excited to see how they use him in week 1. Then again, you have all these weapons on offense on this with AJ, with Devontae, with Dallas, now with Jahan Dotson. Maybe those touchdowns are going to get really split across the board by 5. So that'll be the first day. I want to see what the offensive line looks like post Jason Kelsey. But, of course, there's going to be intrigue on the defense. Vic Fangio's unit now. No Hassan Reddick, premier edge rusher out there. So how do they fill in there? How do they get to the quarterback? How are they using Bryce Huff? Is he going to be a 3-down edge? Is he going to be in pass rushing situations? What they do at the safety spot and the young corner in Kenyon Mitchell. So there's a lot to watch, man. Play for play. I'm actually going to be speaking at a conference on Saturday morning and I almost had to do it Friday night, and I'm really happy that it's not, because I don't want to be distracted on stage trying to present keynote speech while the Eagles are playing. Like, that's not how. I'm not going to Brazil. I didn't want to go to Brazil. I'm not flying 26 hours or whatever the heck it is for one football game. So I'm going to be watching it in a hotel room.
I'm pretty sure it's like 20 hours, but I get your point.
It's far, Josh. It's far, man.
From what I understand, it's 10 hours one way. So from what I
okay, all right, that's not as bad as Australia.
Yeah,
which would be.
Well, that'd be what, 15 hours, I think.
I think even more. I think you got to fly to like L.A. or Hawaii or.
Oh,
LA,
right, because you gotta go to LAX and then go.
Yeah, and then you're all the way at the bottom of the globe, or however. Yeah, I'm very geographically challenged. It's not my strong suit. I'm a stat guy. I can figure out ERAs and averages in my head, but you tell me northeast, west, and south, I'm lost.
I'll help you with that. I got you covered there. That I do know. When the joke was, when I was a kid, people would always ask me and my family where they were going, because I had a better sense of direction my own parents and grandparents did. So.
Do you have the compass out? I still can't figure those out. I'm not a compass. I've never. Yeah.
I used when I was a kid. I was fascinated by maps as a kid. I was one of those dorks. So.
Oh man, Boy Scout? Were you a Boy Scout, Josh?
I was not a Boy Scout. That was.
Did you have the Rand McNally out? You pull that out and you open it up way before we had everything on Google Maps and all. Yeah.
Well, I remember before Google Maps, it was MapQuest. Remember that?
Yeah, you print that out. I still don't know how I got from A to B.
Back to the football, as somebody would let's say. But what's interesting about the Eagles, though, Rob, is that with all these upgrades and the change of the coordinators and everything, there are still people out there who have these serious doubts about this team. And I wanted to ask you, because I was talking with Ian O'Connor yesterday about Aaron Rodgers, and my mind went to Jalen Hurts, because Ian was talking about how Aaron Rodgers is a guy who they just don't like him. There are people out there, no matter how many of his teammates say they love the guy, no matter how many people who have been around him that say that he's a great teammate, a great guy, there are people out there who have never met him who hate the guy, right? And it seems like the same thing happens to Jalen Hurts, that no matter how many teammates say they love the guy, like we had Britton Covey on our air here on 97.3 months ago saying how him and Jalen will be on the airplane, and he's like cracking jokes to him and making him like crack up. He can't even like relax on the plane. And it's like, no matter how many people will tell you he's a great leader, he's a hard worker, there are these people out there who still dislike the guy. And I want to know from you, Rob, as someone who's covered sports as long as you have, what is your take on this? Because it's like Jalen Hurts is being given like the keys to the greatest potential offense in football history. And you still have people out there on different platforms saying Jalen Hurts sucks.
Well, I've seen, and the hot takers are just knuckleheads, and they got to say stuff because, like, I see guys who know nothing about the NFL who are shouting down Russell Wilson. And I'm not going to name names because he's the guy that everybody loves to hate over the past 2-3 years. And it's just idiotic to me how some people have you get a big time platform, 8-figure contracts, and you know nothing about a sport and you just spew nonsense. It's horrific. It's idiotic. But beyond that, to your point about Jalen Hurts, I understand the question marks, Josh. Like, I understand people going, all right, he had a tremendous 22 season. He was runner-up in the MVP. He almost won the Super Bowl, had a great game, a costly turnover, and then last year took a step backwards. His interceptions were up and his numbers were down and his leadership started becoming questioned. And I think some people are rubbed the wrong way by Jalen's personality. And I don't know if any city scrutinizes news conferences more than Philadelphia fans do and Philadelphia media does. Like, Andy was hated. Andy Reid was hated because he started off with injuries. It became a running joke, and I got to do a better job. And he cleared his throat 42 times, and he didn't give you enough, and he doesn't say this, that. Like, and look at him. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's going into the Hall of Fame. And basically couldn't wait to get rid of him in Philadelphia. And Carson got criticized, and Donovan McNabb got criticized. And now it's Jalen Hurts' turn because he's robotic up there. He doesn't show enough passion. He doesn't show enough personality. About the only guy who showed zero personality that was beloved was Chase Utley, because Chase showed no personality. Chase hardly ever spoke. And if it wasn't for Chase saying a world bleeping champions, you never saw any side of his personality. Yet Chase was beloved. It's kind of it's odd to me, because when you see, but baseball players are held to a different standard than NFL players and quarterbacks. So it's weird to me, the hate for Jalen Hurts and the national perception of, oh, he's not that good, or like he's a top 5 quarterback to me. I know Peyton Manning didn't put him in his top 5, and I don't think Tom Brady put him in their top 5, and they were asked about that over the weekend, and that's great. But I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson's a 2-time NFL MVP. If we had a big game to play tomorrow, I want Jalen Hurts lining up under center than Lamar Jackson, just the way I look at it.
And then part of it is because Jalen Hurts has ice water in his veins. I think that's a huge part of it. And then, no offense to Lamar, but he is a big part of the reason why his team lost in the AFC Championship that last year, And I think the problem with the quarterback evaluation, Rob, and I wasn't planning on going down this road, but here we are anyway, is that, unless your name is Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, there's almost no quarterback or Patrick Mahomes. We'll throw him out there. Most quarterbacks cannot elevate the players around them. They are dependent on the offensive line in front of them, receivers catching the ball, right? They're dependent on the other people around them, the coach in their ear, to help put them in a position to be successful. I don't think it's a coincidence that Steve Young was a bust in Tampa and then was a Hall of Famer in San Francisco, right? No one sits around and say, well, that's Steve Young. He was only good when he had players around him. No, they say Steve Young, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer. We act like these quarterbacks are just like an island by themselves. If you would have given Dan Marino this team the Eagles have right now, they're probably going, 16-1 and winning the Super Bowl, running away. You know what I mean? But guess what? Yeah. That's Dan Marino. No one talks about how Dan Marino's a bum because he never won a championship. So we have these double standards for these guys, and it's amazing to me.
Yeah, it is. And you need talent around you. Like, you have to have talent around you to win. Without the talent around you, you're not going to have success. And Jalen does have a ton of talent around him. He's in position to succeed. I think it is a big year for him. The pressure is on Jalen, but the pressure more so is on Nick Sirianni. I think the pressure is on him to have a successful season where they get back to the NFC Championship game or deeper. And a lot of that's going to be dependent upon how Jalen Hurts plays this year. So I think he's going to silence some doubters. I just talked myself into taking him with the number 2 overall pick in my fantasy draft because you know what? He's going to give you 10. He's going to give you 12 to 15, 12 to 16 rushing touchdowns. And with this offense, if he stays healthy, he could throw 30. So that's, for fantasy purposes, that's 45 touchdowns. That's it. I'm taking Jalen number 2. It's going to happen. Hopefully, I'm not the jinx or the Madden curse or the Mahdi curse or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know about any Mahdi curse, so I think you're fine. But by the way, I don't believe in luck either. Luck only works for those who believe in it. So.
This is true. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in divine appointments. That's how I look at it. Yeah.
Rob, before I let you go, I did want to ask you a non-Eagles NFL question. Because you do cover the NFL for the Associated Press. We should mention that. For you going into this season, I know a lot of people are anticipating, predicting, assuming that the Chiefs are going to win the AFC. But I don't think there's ever been a team that's three-peated 3 straight years in NFL history in the Super Bowl. So is there a team in the AFC that you're keeping an eye on and you're saying, let me tell you guys, you people are talking about the Chiefs, I'm looking at this team?
Yeah, there has been no three-peat in the Super Bowl era. We've had them before that when it was the NFL championship game. It's going to be difficult for the Chiefs, and I got to make my predictions next week. And I'm leaning towards not picking them to come out of the AFC. It's just so hard, and I think it's time where like they may be dealing with injuries at some point. Like they've been very fortunate to have their guys stay healthy. I think until Lamar Jackson wins in the playoffs and wins big, you still got to look at. I love Baltimore's offense and I love their defense and their coaching and the addition of Derrick Henry. But I'm not going to take them over the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm looking at Buffalo. It's a big year. They've had a lot of losses. They lost Matt Milano a couple weeks ago, but I still think Josh Allen's got a lot to prove. Joe Burrow, if he can stay healthy for a full season, he's going to be a guy that a lot is expected of. I think the Houston Texans can take another step forward with C.J. Stroud and D'Amico as their coach and Will Anderson on the defensive side and the addition of Stephon Diggs. So there's a lot of competition there. There's some competition for the Chiefs in the AFC West. Justin Herbert's back. Jim Harbaugh's a phenomenal coach. They're going to be better. Denver now is going to start Bo Nix. Those are going to be two tough games. They always are. The Raiders are certainly gunning for the Chiefs. I think it's just going to be hard for them to come out. So I don't know which way I'm leaning yet, whether I go with Buffalo, Cincinnati. Of course, Miami. I got to see them this week in a joint practice with Tampa Bay. They got a ton of talent, especially on offense. That's another team like there's a lot in Jacksonville. I didn't even count Jacksonville in there, and I think they're a little step behind Houston, but I could see Jacksonville taking a step forward. So it's going to be hard for Kansas City, Josh. There's a lot of teams, a lot of competition. It's going to be interesting. It's not like the NFC where I think it's only the Niners, the Eagles, or Detroit in that order, and the Eagles may have leapfrogged San Francisco in my mind because Trent Williams still isn't in camp, and Brandon Ayuk's situation still isn't settled.
Two teams you didn't mention. AFC, the Jets. I will not discount a healthy Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
And he's got, I'm not saying he is, but he's got that Kobe part of him where he's like, guys like him can just will things to happen sometimes. And that's a dangerous, if he plays a full schedule, watch out with the Jets. And then in the NFC, don't forget about the Packers. The Packers almost beat the 49ers in the playoffs last year, and they were way less experienced than they are coming into this year.
I thought the Jets last year, I picked them to get to the AFC title game. They have talent. I hope Aaron Rodgers stays healthy for a full year. I'd love to see what he can do if they stay healthy for a full season. So, yeah, certainly. You got to they got a legitimate chance at winning the AFC East, Josh. So, for sure. And Green Bay, like, that week 1 game against the Eagles could help determine home field advantage at some point. Like that's how close they are. But Green Bay's they're in a tougher division. I think that NFC North with Minnesota, even though they lost JJ McCarthy, but Detroit being the incumbent, the Bears are on the rise. So I think it's going to that's the black and blue NFC North, and I think those teams are going to beat each other up.
He's Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press at Rob Maaddi on the Twitter X platform. Check out all of his work with the Associated Press covering the NFL. And he is host of Faith on the Field Saturday and Sunday mornings on 97.3 ESPN. I believe this weekend is Panthers coach Dave Canales, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, there you go. Folks can tune into that this weekend here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, enjoy the final preseason games. And when it's finally over, you can finally talk about real football instead of Jaron Hall, who's starting for the Vikings tomorrow.
I'm excited about that. And I finally watched Quarterback, the Netflix that you told me. So I finally watched the whole thing. I started to watch Receiver. I make a cameo in Receiver. So I'm excited about that too.
Wow. Look at that. Rob Maaddi could add your IMDb page.
Yeah. Let's go. Have a great weekend, Josh.
Take care. Rob Maaddi joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll check out the text board one more time on the other side, 609-403-0973, and my first picks for the football season. That's all next on 97.3 ESPN.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Can't wake up without it.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Your ultimate driving machine is waiting at BMW of Atlantic City. We're topping off the season with our greatest offers of the summer. For a limited time only, lease a new 2025 BMW iX xDrive 50 for $699 a month for 36 months with $64.19 due at signing, or finance at 2.99% APR for 60 months. At BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. Located in Egg Harbor Township. Online at bmwatlanticcity.com. Offers expire September 3rd. For more details, call 609-316-2393.
Stop by Sherwin-Williams and get 30% off Duration products and Super Deck stains from August 23rd through the 26th. It's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
The only thing more satisfying than a crisp fall day is a crisp fall day inside your cozy, spotless home. Right now, shop Labor Day savings on select cleaning essentials and exclusive brands from the Home Depot. Plus, with fast free delivery, you don't have to worry about running out of your favorite cleaners, paper products, trash bags, and more. The Home Depot has everything you need to get ready for a fall refresh. Get your home crisp, clean, and ready for the season with the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Free delivery on over 2 million items subject to availability.
Dennis Malloy here for the Lauder, New Jersey. Feeling lucky? Well, it just got even easier to order lottery tickets online. The Lauder, New Jersey is here and raring to go with daily pick draws, local favorites like Jersey Cash 5, and multi-state record breakers like Powerball and Mega Millions. Try out the Lauder, New Jersey from home or on the go today and get 100% cash back on your first entry. 100% cash back. Just visit nj.thelauder.us. Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. Be 21.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You know, it only takes one bad decision to change your life. And riding after drinking can be one of those. It can lead to impaired reflexes, poor judgment, and then disaster. Think about it. Even one drink affects your ability to ride. Alcohol can limit your reaction time and give you a false sense of confidence. You think it'll never happen to you, but it can. So, if you hit the bottle, don't roll the throttle. Brought to you by NHTSA.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
We're turning up the summer fun during the final days of the Honda Summer Event at Boardwalk Honda. Right now, lease a new 2024 Honda Prologue EX for only $179 a month, or lease a new 2025 Honda HR-V LX for just $249 a month, both for 36 months. And remember, from Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal. Visit HondaBoardwalk.com for low lease payments. Call us toll free 484-246-6754 for more details.
Boardwalk Honda. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennick on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Over on the text board, if we get out of here, Shano chimes in from Manahawk and says, I don't think they have a better group of receivers. Maybe the closest would be the Bears with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rowan Odunze. But Odunze turned out to be who we think he can be. They might be a better receiving core. Problem with the Bears, though, is that I think their offensive line stinks, and Keenan Allen never stays healthy. But those are two huge negatives. But it's a good pull by Shano and Manahawk. All right. First Football Friday of the year. Last year, our college football picks, 66.4%. NFL picks, 61.5%. So, first picks of the NFL season. FSU versus Georgia Tech tomorrow in Dublin, Ireland. Give me Florida State to cover the 10.5 points. SMU versus Nevada tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN. Over the 55.5 total points. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, producer Mr. Everything Josh Hennig, and former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Dave Klemick join me in the studio. We will opine on the new bird in the nest and preview the Eagles' final preseason game Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Link against the Vikings. Hour 2, we'll hear from Mr. Negadelphia himself, PJ Corda, on the state of Philly sports, brought to you by Galloway Pool Service. Philly's talking more. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
97.